Hi there, welcome to stampityourself.com. My name is Connie-Rae and I have got an Easter card tutorial for you today. I have made this card with thick whisper white cardstock and basic grey, and I've done some white embossing on the basic grey, and I just love it. I think it's very clean, it's very simple, and it's very pretty. There you go. Lovely, isn't it? I just love it. I don't think there's much more I wanted to do to it just other than this. I think it speaks volumes for itself per se. So I will show you how I have created it. You are going to require basket bunch, and we are going to use, in this instance, initially in my first card I used the 4 eggs, the 1, 2, 3, 4, yes, 1, 2, 3 and 4, the 4 eggs in the set. Now I've lost an egg. Can you believe it? I can't find it anywhere. So I'm looking for this one, and I think I've thrown it out. I've lost an egg, and I'm very upset. But anyway, okay, I've lost an egg. So in this tutorial, I'm going to be using this set down here, and they come as one strip. These ones are singular, but this strip here is the one that I'll be using. I'm also going to be using Big on Birthday set, and I'm going to be using this lovely flourish here. Oh, not flourish, but flowery, petally, gorgeous petally set, and it just looks beautiful. This just comes up so nice. So those are the 2 stamp sets you require, and you are going to require a piece of whisper white cardstock, 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2. You're going to need a piece of matte grey, basic grey, and the size of that is 5 by 3 5/8. You're going to need a white piece, whisper white cardstock again, and that's going to go onto the grey, and that is 4 7/8 by 3 1/2. And finally, if I can find it, here we go, we have another piece of cardstock. Just looking at it, there was a shadow on it. Okay, another piece of cardstock for our embossing, and that's 3 7/8 times 2 1/2 in basic grey, and that's what you need in sizes. So it's a very simple card, very easy to do, but it is very, very pretty. And as I said, I couldn't find a sentiment, and I couldn't find a bow or anything that I really wanted to add to it, because it's very elegant, and it's just so lovely. It's really fresh and inviting. And to be honest, I don't give a lot of Easter cards out. I give a lot of chocolate out, but we don't give a lot of Easter cards. It's not like you send off Christmas cards the way that you do with Christmas cards. It's the Easter cards I don't send many, but it's nice to send them to people who will appreciate them, that's for sure. So this is my Easter card that if I'm going to send it to anybody, that's the one I'm going to send. It's very fresh, it's lovely. Okay, so first of all, I initially have, sorry, I'm all fingers and thumbs again today because I've lost my egg and it's upset me. I can't find my egg. Okay, first of all, on the grey mat, the large grey mat, we're going to just use some Tombow, and I'm just going to adhere it with that. Pretty easy, and you can probably whip up a few of these. It doesn't take long to do. Once you've shown how, it's pretty easy. And the reason I'm using Tombow is because it's easier for me just to make sure my alignment's correct, because I am not very good with aligning things. I do need a little bit of practice. That being said, I've just ordered the new We Are the Memory Keepers laser light, and like, it was a little bit expensive, but I'm really looking forward to it because it's a new way of aligning things, and I'm sort of thinking I need that because I'm not very good at aligning things. So anyway, I'll show you that when it comes out per se. Okay, so we've stuck that down on our grey mat, very pretty. And then we're just going to put some dimensionals on here. This is a very quick tutorial, and it's very easy. You've just got to be careful with your embossing and your alignment, and that's it. And of course, you can stick a sentiment on it. If you can find a place to stick it that you're happy with, by all means, go for it. But for me, I just wasn't happy with any sentiment, and I tried to put a bow on, wasn't happy with the bow. So, I don't know. I think it's just fine the way it is. It's beautiful, very fresh. As I said, the colours are gorgeous. The grey, the basic grey and the whisper white. Oh, I love the colours. They're so fresh. They go together really well. Okay, just taking off these cards. Oh, sorry, the dimensionals. Now, trying to line it up without jinxing myself. Okay, let's try this. So we want that to go basically in the middle and straight. So that's going to be our card front. Okay, and then we're going to take our smallest piece. Now I have put a post-it note on the side here, and that is because the flourish, the flower, is quite long. And when you go to stamp it, you can use a block for this. I've done it with I think this is the D block from Stampin' Up, which is fine. I've done it with the D block, and it works really well. So if you've got the block, that's fine. Just line your card up, and put fingers and thumbs again. Put your stamp down on the mat, and then put your block over the top. Make sure it's lined up the way you want with the card down before you do the stamping. I think that's the best way to go with it. Just makes it easier. So you really do need to, because we're doing white, you need to make sure that your embossing is good. And the way to do that is to use your embossing buddy. I can't find my embossing buddy. I love it just the same though. It works just as good. So a nice preparation on your mat, and we're going to use some Versamark. So I'm just going to stamp up with some Versamark. Not too much, not too little, not too thick. And as I said, I've just marked the edge of where the stitching is. I've used my, sorry, I didn't explain very well either. I did use my stitching Lawn Fawn frames, which I often use in my tutorials. That's for the smaller, this one here is for the smallest one, and this one is for the bigger grey one, white one. But that's the same size as the sizes that I've given you, so it makes no difference except you've just got no stitching if you're going to do a plain border. So that's entirely up to you. But I have put this little post-it note here just on the stitching, so that when I do flip it over, you'll see here that just on the edges, you don't want it to go into the stitching because it looks a little bit funny in real life. It's sort of like the embossing doesn't sit really well on it, so I prefer just to do a little bit of cover on it. And I've already positioned my stamp, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now, just to be sure it will go the way that I want it. And a good firm press. Again, you can still do this with the block. I've done it with the block practicing, but I am kind of used to the MISTI now, so it is a bit odd once you start getting used to it. So just check that you're embossing, you're happy with that, and that looks pretty good to me. Okay, and I'm just going to quickly pop that down and quickly take that off. I shall clean that later. And I'm going to put my eggs down the way that I want them to look, and put them in the position that I want them in, and that looks good. And just use the Versamark for those little cookie eggs. I bet you I've thrown that other egg out on a scrap of paper or something. Oh, look what I did. Okay, that wasn't on the agenda. Okay, let's just see how we can get around this. We can use the D block. There we go. How's that? It got stuck. The Versamark is so sticky that it actually got stuck to the pad. How cute is that? All right, that's fine. We can use this. So I'm just going to position it. Actually, I'll take it off there. Get that out of the way. And put my eggs into position. Oops. Got them over to the lower part, I think, because the top of the card would look a little bit too busy if it was all really close together. There we go. And done. Problem solved. Okay, we get that out of the way, and we'll get the white embossing powder. I'll turn on my heat gun, so I do apologise for the noise, but the hotter it is, the better it is, because that way your cardstock will not change or warp or bend, and the hotter it is, the quicker it embosses. It's always just a better philosophy, I think. Okay, so I'm just going to pop on the white. I'm using white embossing powder, and it goes beautiful with the grey and the white cardstock. Okay, I think that's pretty good. I do hope you give this one a go, because it is really easy. just making sure that there's no extra pieces that I don't need or want. If there is, you know, you can use a brush just to flick them off. And a good tap on the back. You can see where I was lining up and practicing before. It's always good to give it a practice before you put it down. Always. Because you can guarantee Murphy, he's always there. Alright, this looks good. So I think I will just do the heat embossing now. Oh, maybe you put on the paper, on your Stampin' Up pad or paper, you need a bends, it cripples the paper, makes it all funny. Just gets a bit hot in the old fingers, doesn't it? Oh, sorry, moving out of camera line there. Just checking that to make sure it's all done. Yep, that looks pretty good. See how fresh and beautiful it looks. It's so pretty, isn't it? And it's so easy to do. And I think that the best thing is that you don't need to do too much to it. It speaks for itself. And I love a card that speaks for itself. And this one does exactly that. Look at that. So if you liked the larger eggs, it goes just as well with the larger eggs. So it's entirely optional. If you haven't lost your eggs like I have, the large egg or the smaller set goes just fine. So muck around with it at first and see which one you like the best. And before you send it off, just be happy with it. If not, just keep practicing until you get it. Some things take practice, like filming tutorials. Okay, I think I'm going to put another dimensional right in the middle there to pop it up. Okay, making sure I've got all my bits off. Okay, so I'm just going to line this one up and we will be finished. So yes, I can't wait to get my new laser light. I think it's going to be really good, especially for lining things up. Obviously, you know, the crafting industry comes out with these things when it needs to because of the demand for it. So obviously I'm not the only one with alignment problems, which is it's reassuring, that's for sure. Okay. It's not that I can't do it, it's just that I do find it very distracting to have to get it, if I don't get it right. And once you've stuck it, it's kind of really hard to change. So yes, I'm looking forward to that. So I will share that with you when I get my laser light. I got it from Crafts Online for people here in Australia. That's one of the places. Aussie Trinkets and Crafts is another place that I purchased some stuff from. But yeah, they're basically pretty competitive. So, but anyway, that's where I get my things. If Stampin' Up hasn't got it, I love Stampin' Up, no doubt about it. But and you never know. When they come out with their new catalogue, they're probably going to have something just as lovely. So there you go. So there's the cards. Pick whichever one you like. This one, I suppose you could probably pop a little sentiment just in there because the eggs aren't as large. I'm going more for this one. I like this one. I like the size of the eggs on that one. And the other thing that you can do is I was thinking about it before, and I coloured in these little eggs. Here we go. Let me see if I can just bring them in for you. I coloured in the little eggs with my Prisma markers and some Copic markers. I was just mucking around with colouring in them in, coming up with this design. And I ended up going with the black and white, sorry, the grey and white, because I really enjoyed the way that it looked together. But then when I lost the other egg, I came up with this idea that I might just pop that in there. And I kind of liked it. So I might just do that now and show you what I'm talking about. Is I just put a little bit of Tombow on the bottom of it. Oop, going to lose another egg. And then I just popped it in to put the Tombow on it just so that you can move it around and put it into placement. And it just kind of went really well in a funny odd way, just adding a little bit of colour to the original one that I've done. And I just popped the little egg in there and it just looks really cute. It just gives it a little bit of colour. And yeah, that's another way of bringing it more to life. But I do find that I don't require, for me, I don't require a sentiment on it because it really says everything. And I don't really, if you're going to use bows and ribbons and that, you've got to be really good at tying and things like that. And sometimes I'm not. So I prefer just to have a nice, clean, simple, pretty card that's fresh. And this is one of them. So I do hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. And I'm sure I will be back soon with another tutorial, probably based on Easter because it is Easter for us now. So who knows what I'm going to come up with next. I'm going to go off and try and find that egg. That's what I'm going to do. So you can take a pick of whichever one you like the most. I am swinging more towards the larger eggs because I think they say have a bigger statement impact. And the smaller ones, if you're going to use these smaller ones, perhaps the teeny tiny sentiments have got Happy Easter in, I believe, and you might be able to pop in Happy Easter there. But I don't really like to make it look too busy. I like it really nice and fresh and clean and simple, and that's what I think this one is. So thanks for joining me. I do hope you stay well and having a happy Easter. And I will be back, I'm sure, with another tutorial to share with you. Thanks for joining me, and please subscribe to support my crafting. Thank you.